Good morning. Welcome to Healing Life Fellowship Church. We are a spiritualist church that strives to understand and comply with the physical, mental, and spiritual laws of nature, which are the laws of God. I'm Reverend Lydia Janacek. 'Tis the season. Christmas is almost here. Talk about a perfect opportunity to make an impact in the lives of others. Is there a better time of year when people are more open to be kind and compassionate to others? Or do we find ourselves thinking about what we want and not what we may be able to do for others? I want to read a story that was on the internet that I found by Miss Wolf. It reads, "When I married a graduate student with limited income and moved far away from my family to live with him, I expected I would celebrate a much more modest Christmas that year than I normally enjoyed while growing up. I had accepted this, but I was stunned when I learned later that I would have to work straight through Christmas and miss celebrating it altogether. But that's when I was forced to discover more than the true sense of Christmas, as being about selfless love, as honoring the selfless love to Christ that God has given humanity. I held a management job in a large retail store. As the newest hire, I was assigned a night shift for 4 straight weeks during the Christmas season and lasting through New Year's Day. Every night, a team of a few experienced staff members, along with several temporary hires, worked to restock the entire store. Because of the high volume of business, we were told that in addition to being stuck with the night shift on Christmas Eve, we would start working on the daytime and go straight through until Christmas morning without any time off. Since I was working all night and my husband was busy during the day, I was disappointed about us having any time together or having any time to prepare for the holiday. I felt as though I was being robbed of all the goodness I associated with Christmas. Additionally, things had become strained at work. The temporary hires proved to be unmotivated to get to work. Since their jobs were temporary, they may have felt little need to excel. Some were homeless, while others were from remote areas, living out of their cars, trying to make some money to take back home. Some had drug and alcohol problems and had to be fired. We were getting further behind, and my boss was unhappy with me and the team. I resorted to mental condemning the staff of their laziness and insubordination. At the same time, I was suffering from a constant headache due to stress and sleeplessness. I felt as though I had hit a low point and was wallowing in self-pity. That's when I mentally cried out to God to help me. I couldn't stand it anymore. I prayed that God would help me find an out from that job. Instead, I was startled when, in the response to my prayers, a thought came to me that I needed to be looking within myself, to stop being self-righteous and having self-pity. The thought came to me that I needed to be more giving and understanding. I was stunned by that thought, but as I prayed, some further questions came to me to consider. Wasn't the real meaning of Christmas about God coming to humanity and giving us all his love? Didn't Jesus provide the perfect example of utter selflessness, of devotion, concentration to God, of a dedication to loving and healing others? Couldn't I begin in some way to follow in those footsteps and to love those who are around me, including my fellow workers? Those questions hit home, and I was deeply ashamed and humbled. I felt as if I was waking up to God's truth and reality. Instead of clinging to what I thought should be happening humanly, I felt like a tired child, all too ready to let God take over. It was time to forsake the era of self-pity and rest in divine love. It dawned on me that I could celebrate Christmas by looking for God's good expression reflected in each person with whom I worked. As I worked to do this, the headache disappeared permanently, and my joy returned. I loved looking for evidence of God's goodness in each of my fellow workers, and I began to earnestly appreciate and love them. The team began to be more productive, and my boss commented on the progress. Yet, as Christmas Day approached, several were still unhappy about missing Christmas celebrations with their families and friends. As I prayed about this, it came to me to suggest that we plan a Christmas dinner for the team that we could eat in the middle of the night before Christmas Day, during our 2 a.m. break for dinner. I asked if each worker would be willing to bring a dish, and all agreed. When the night came, I decorated the employee lunchroom using Christmas decorations from the store that had either been broken or returned. I set the table with mismatched paper goods that the staff had donated for this dinner. As the employees walked in, one young man who was homeless grasped and said, "This is so beautiful." Before we ate, someone insisted that I say grace. I looked around at our very diverse group and wondered what I would say. I silently asked God what would be appropriate, and the thought came to me to just speak from my heart. I began. Like others here, I was feeling sad that I was going to miss Christmas with my family. But God brought us together to be kind of a special Christmas family, for one another, to share God's joy and love. I'm so grateful for everyone here, and it's a blessing to share this occasion together. Thank you, God, for the opportunity to have Christmas with this precious group. Dear God, thank you for all your love tonight. I thought that was a wonderful story to share. After I said grace, there was quiet and even a few tears in their eyes, she said. The stillness was sweet and almost holy. Then we all began enjoying our humble dinner. One person shared a funny story for a Christmas party gone wrong, which was so funnily described that we all laughed heartily. Our joy transcended racially, culturally, and religious differences. God had brought us together in love, and we experienced a glimpse of the Christmas harmony that the angels sang about. Glory to God in the highest, and on earth peace, good, and towards men, from the book of Luke, chapter 2, verse 14. The Christmases when I needed to be the most unselfish have turned out to be the most joyous. Before I left work later that morning, one man who had been at the dinner came up to me, looked me in the eye, and said, "I was married with children, but took to drinking and lost everything. I've come to terms with that, but every Christmas since then has been difficult. So I would always drink myself to oblivion to forget. But not this year. This year was the best Christmas I ever had." Before I could say anything, he quickly walked away. I was deeply touched. I thanked God for giving me this precious Christmas, rather than the one I had outlined. I felt this Christmas had been a true celebration of the Christ and the divine love. When I arrived home later that Christmas night, my husband was waiting to hug me and tried to lift my spirits, but he found that it wasn't necessary. I burst into telling him I had already had the best Christmas ever while I worked that night before. Never again would all the glitter, trimmings, and presents be as important as helping others to know and feel the love of Christ. My husband and I made a pact that day that future Christmases would be first and foremost about selflessness and love, even more than about uplifting family, traditions, or being with certain people. There have been many Christmases since then that promise has been kept. The Christmases when I have needed the most unselfish have turned out to be the most joyous. Sometimes I have called to help others in need, praying steadfastly for them. Through those prayers, I have found the deepest satisfaction and a true sense of Christ come to earth. Now, each year, Christmas for me represents a unique gift for God, not just a human celebration. I'm no longer outlining what Christmas should be, but loving what God is revealing about the goodness of giving selfless love. When I have learned and expressed more of that selfless love in my own life, I have enjoyed the best possible Christmas. Isn't this the time of year that we all can get caught up in our own expectations and have disappointments by having things not go the way we think they should go, just like that story? This is my favorite time of year, my favorite holiday. I wish it was 80, but it is my favorite holiday. I have carried on my mom's traditions, on the decorating, the baking cookies, to having people come celebrate for the holidays, spending it with my family and friends, and to spread love as much as I can. I'm sure most of you would agree, Christmas gives us memorable experiences of giving and receiving love between family and friends. It's about sharing the love, and that you have to give, not necessarily receive. Unfortunately, some dread the season because of various circumstances that have happened around this time, from losing someone and they're sad. Or maybe they're out of work, so the holidays are adding an extra stress. Whether you're a lover of the holiday or someone that dreads this time of year due to a loss of a loved one, I would say that we can all agree this is the season about feeling love or lacking it. Realistically, December is crazy for most of us, trying to work, celebrate with our families and friends. But when we slow down, we recognize how much we can spread the joy of love to others as God loves us. We need to reflect on the power of love, remembering God is in each and every one of us. So if we hurt another with our actions or our words, we're hurting our own soul is there as well. In the Bible, it states in 1 Corinthians chapter 16, verse 14, "Let all that you do be done in love." The love that we get from our Father is steadfast, unchanging, and unconditional. Christmas is a celebration, a time for giving, and not a simple day that we exchange gifts. The spirit of Christmas is in the togetherness, celebrating God's Son, Jesus, even though we really don't know the exact day he was born. Christmas Day is the day we celebrate it. It's about the thought to which you put into the caring for others. It is a selfless time where we forgive and we serve. We need to take stock of what's important and become take stock of what's important and become better versions of ourselves. We need to remember that love is a positive action force. It helps the loved ones we're giving it to. If there is need, love tries to supply it. If there is weakness, love can comfort us and even give us strength when we're discouraged. Love can encourage others to be kind. Our youngest daughter, Danielle, 1 year, asked my husband George and I if we would buy a whole family presents for Christmas that were less fortunate than we were. She said, "Mom, you don't have to buy me anything. Just let's make another family's Christmas special like ours." I believe George and I learned a lot that year from her. She was willing to not get one present so another whole family could feel love. Not only were George and I touched and so proud of her, but my parents and an uncle and an aunt joined in and decided to help as well. You see, one act of love from a 7-year-old spread 2 other families to help a family in need. We got a list of everything, of the sizes, the toys that they might want, and we went to Walmart, and she got every single thing on that list for them. And that Christmas, I'm sure that family had a wonderful Christmas. We need to give freely of our time and our service to all mankind. Think about all the men and the women that have served in our military and our first responders serving to ensure our safety. That is a kind and loving act, and a lot of them won't be home for Christmas with their families. I want to say thank you to them for serving in the past and for serving now. We need to remember that there are endless opportunities that we can spread love by serving. It may be a kind word or a deed. Go see a shut-in, open a door for someone, or help spread the chair in a homeless shelter. Go help out at a food pantry. In the last couple of services, our little church, this community, has collected for the Veterans Hospital. So I want to say thank you for all of you that have done that. We have received an abundance of things that will be much, much appreciated. And I'm sure we will put smiles on a lot of wonderful men and women that gave selflessly for all of us in some way as well. Christmas is a season to give forgiveness with love. To be forgiven. We have to forgive and love with our whole heart. A true spiritual person is one that forgives. I'm going to repeat that. A true spiritual person is one that forgives. Anger and hurt does damage only to you. Look at how it is serving you. Forgiving others brings peace and joy to our souls. Love keeps no record of wrongs. So we have to let go of the hurt and the anger and recognize that if you're holding on to a past hurt from someone you care about and that truly cares about you, they probably never hurt you intentionally in the first place. To move past the hurt or anger, send them love. It is about your intentions, asking for all to be healed. Love can reach wherever your intentions want it to go. Same as healing energy. Heber J. Grant was quoted as saying, "There is nothing that will bring us more Spirit of God than to be kind." Considerate, being kind, considerate, charitable, long-suffering, and forgiving. There is nothing that will bring more joy to us than to be ready and willing to forgive the trespassers of our neighbors against us. And there is nothing that will bring more condemnation to us than to harden our hearts and to be bitter and vindictive in our feelings towards others by whom we are surrounded. So check your heart and enter into the Christmas season with the forgiving heart. Remember, we never know what tomorrow brings. We never know if today is our last day on earth. Ask yourself, have you been loving and kind to all? Is there someone you need to tell you love them and you're sorry? For some reason, it's harder to say sorry to those we love dear to our hearts than to say it to a stranger. Even when you're not sure what happened or there has been assumptions made without good communication. Things can be blown out of proportion. Sometimes our minds can blow things up and we don't see clearly. Then we need to stop before we allow it to ruin relationships. It can always be fixed, whether it be parents, spouse, a child, or a friend, or even a coworker. With love, all can be resolved if both parties are willing to use the love that they have for one another to find a resolution. Especially in this Christmas season, think about the emotions you're putting your body through and what it's doing to you physically. We all know every emotion has an effect on us physically. Think about how love keeps us happy and healthy versus anger, sadness, or frustration. If you haven't read Louise Hay's books, Heal Your Life, you need to. It explains on so many levels all about this. Let's try and be more patient with our loved ones and even those we don't know. At this time of year, people can be frustrated or irritable due to being rushed to get things done for the holidays. Even if it's in a parking lot or store lines, your kind act of love will shine through. Let them have the parking spot. Maybe let the person go ahead in front of you in line. Buy somebody a cup of coffee when you're in line. I had a client recently bring me a cup of tea, and I so appreciated it. Be sure and let them know how much you appreciate when they do something kind for you. Thank God for the gifts you will receive and have gotten already, whether they're material or spiritual. Be a blessing to others around you. The true meaning of Christmas is all about our worth in God's eyes and His infinity of unconditional love for us. Are you willing to accept this unearned love of God that sees our worth? We are all children of God. When God sent an angel to Mary, letting her know she was the chosen one to carry her son, and she questioned why her. But she did what she was asked, trusting because of her love for God. When Joseph was supposed to marry her and found out she was pregnant, when they had not been together yet, he was angry and frustrated. But God had an angel come to him in a dream and told him he was to be with Mary, that it was God's son she was carrying. He had to trust and love God as well to do what he did. He did it for his love for God. This Christmas, let's all embrace the idea that we are worthy of God's love and be examples to love others as He loves us. Christmas is a perfect time to tell those you care about you love them, and to find love within your family and friends, and be that spiritual person we all are supposed to be. Walk the walk, don't just talk the talk. Christmas is a celebration, a time for togetherness, a time for us to think of others. It's a selfless time. Take stock of what's most important. Try and become more accepting and generous with helping others and with your emotions. Undoubtedly, these principles should be present all year long. There is something said, for it is 'tis the season. Be social and offer goodwill and peace to all. And recognize our community here at our church. If you know someone that lives alone, ask them to share the holiday dinner with you this festive season. Let's all make a difference in someone's life this Christmas. Recognize the need in others. It's not about money. It's not about the presents. It's about friendship, kindness, taking the time to say, "How are you? I care about you." Be a friend. A simple act of kindness can help lighten a burden and make a challenge seem less overwhelming to one another. If they're sick, get them food. Maybe help get them medicine. Do acts of love. Give of yourself. Not out of obligation. Do it because you care. And accept nothing in return. Let the spirit of Christmas illuminate your soul. Allow the Christmas spirit to fill your heart with love. Remember to say thank you or please. These things seem so trivial, but how many times do you notice people are in a rush and forget their manners? Christmas is not a time nor a season, but a state of mind. A time to cherish peace and love. We need to remember not everyone was brought up in a wonderful family. I had a great childhood. I had two wonderful parents. We were very, very lucky. My siblings and I were loved every single day of my life until my parents went home. And they're still loving me from the other side. At this time, we would be running around, making sure that we went to my grandmother's house, getting things ready for her so she was prepared for the entire family to come. When I was a child, we went there every Christmas, 2 days before, setting up tables and getting everything ready. We would get together with my family, my aunts, my uncles. Christmas was a special time in my life, and we celebrated. I have many, many wonderful memories of my Christmases with my family. But the sad thing is not everyone has great memories. My own husband came from a broken home, and they never really celebrated Christmas. I believe that my whole family and I showed him what the true meaning of Christmas was. And we together, my husband and I, have taught our children that it's about being together as a family. It's about showing love, caring about one another, and having God in our lives. I wish you all love and peace in the Christmas season. Merry Christmas, and thank you for sharing your time with us today.